Hello, welcome back. It is week 26 on Out on That Line. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. After a week off, a really nice week off, so thank you to Tanner and Alex for doing that past episode. That really helped me out. Here with my co-host, as always, Alex. Alex, how are we doing this week?
Reunited, and it feels so good. I'm better now that you're here.
Yeah, I'm feeling revitalized, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, ready to get going on this one.
Hell yeah, let's do it. What do we got for him this week, Tanner? Oh, God, I just called you Tanner.
Well, I mean, things are moving a little too quickly for me here.
Oh, my God.
We are going to be taking a look at Julien Baker's new album, Little Oblivions, songwriter out of Memphis, Tennessee, in a band with Phoebe Bridgers, correct? In Lucy Dacus?
Lucy Dacus, Boy Genius,
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy Genius, yes. Also a pretty good group if you haven't heard them. We're going to be going over Julien Baker's new album specifically. But first, I think I do need to address a couple of things about that episode that you and Tanner did. And first things first, clearly, I've taught Tanner everything that he knows, but not everything that I know. You know, there's a good distinction there. And I am a little pissed that he didn't come up with the third in that classic trilogy of songs off Aerosmith's seminal album, Get a Grip. He got amazing. He got crying. He did not get crazy.
Crazy and Crying are on the same album?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, as not a big Aerosmith guy, I do have to, game recognizes game. That is a loaded album.
Yes, and I think, like I was saying previous to starting to record here, I think Tanner oversold my love for Aerosmith just a little. Certainly not one of my favorite bands ever, but that Get a Grip album, he is not lying about that one being the bee's knees. It is incredible, top to bottom. So many good songs on that one, starting with Eat the Rich. We get into Living on the Edge, Fever, Flesh, that trilogy, amazing, Crying, Crazy, Shut Up and Dance. It's got the hits. It's so good.
See, and I would have done Living on the Edge over Amazing. What does Amazing even sound like? Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
It's Girl, You're Amazing. That's it.
That's the whole song. That's beautiful.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I've never heard that one.
Look it up. Yeah, I think that's the other one. I don't know if Alicia Silverstone was in that music video. I forget which two of these were the ones that she was in, but it was that trilogy of songs.
See, Crazy was, I think his daughter was in that video, wasn't she? Liv Tyler?
Yes. Okay, so yeah, then it was Amazing and Crying that Alicia Silverstone was in.
Okay.
Yeah. Very weird that he had Liv Tyler in that video.
Very weird to have your teenage/early 20s daughter like running around in her underwear in your music video.
Yeah, it gives me very, very Donald and Ivanka vibes.
Yeah. Well, at least like you never had Liv Tyler sitting on Steven Tyler's lap at any point.
That we know of. I think they were kind of estranged from each other for a long time. So
yeah. How come, sidebar with the Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump thing, aren't those photos enough for at least an indictment? I mean, that's horrifying. How
it's
like,
weird.
Ugh, I don't like it.
Well, I think the photos in combination with what he said, because there's a zillion daughters that have sat on their dad's laps.
Sure.
Like, I'm not about to say that there's anything inherently wrong with that.
But paired with the things he said.
Paired with saying things along the lines of, and I think I'm paraphrasing here, but only because I can't remember exactly the words used, but I'm getting the sentiment correct when he said, if she weren't my daughter, I'd probably date her. That means you've thought of your daughter in that way. And like, well, she's not, so I won't. Is that the reason that you're not going to date your daughter, is just because you're related to her?
Yeah, that's all that's stopping you?
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
You know, the ancient Mesopotamians used to date their daughters and no one gave them guff.
Yeah, that Aerosmith album, it fucks. And I'm not even gonna pretend that it doesn't. Also, Big Ones is kind of a greatest hits / new songs. It's back when artists would do new singles on their greatest hits album. That's the one had Dude Looks Like a Lady on it. Also had Living on the Edge on it. So it's like, it's a weird combination of that. I don't know any bands that do that anymore. I'm glad they don't. I think a greatest hits album should be just a greatest hits album. And if you want to do new songs, just put it on a new album. It's not like they
Yeah.
didn't come out with any after that, you know? But really get a grip. Absolutely top to bottom knockout of an album. Absolutely recommend that one.
What year did that come out?
Oh shit, now you got me. I don't know, probably like 92.
So funny, I was thinking 92 in my head. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me hold on. If you want to riff a little bit for a second, let me look that up.
Okay, well, I'll throw Tanner under the bus while you're doing that. Beep, beep, motherfucker. So Tanner texted me earlier today, and I know you'll co-sign the sentiment. He'll frequently text me, and he'll be like, hey, I've been listening to a lot of Willie Nelson lately, and I got to tell you, it's pretty good. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll give whatever you're listening to a shot. And it's like, hey, oh, good for you. Today he goes, I'm having a bit of a U2 renaissance. And after I swallowed my vomit, I said, let me just stop you right there. The journey for us ends in this moment because I fucking hate U2 and I hate Bono. And I know Geoff agrees. We drink from the same cup of haterade on that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I will swim in a pool of that haterade. That is a terrible band, terrible lead singer. I guess Edge is okay at playing guitar, but looks weird. He's always wearing that weird beanie. I don't know what his hairline looks like. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. But terrible, terrible music. Awful music. They are the same as the Red Hot Chili Peppers for me. Now, I guess I wouldn't put the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the same pantheon of hatred that I put U2 into. They're right up. U2 is right up there with the Foos and Taylor Swift for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are just non-starters for me from the get-go. But they definitely... They start their songs and they sound badass. Like Red Hot Chili Peppers do the same thing where the songs just sound like they're going to be a badass rock song. And then they completely drop that intro and you're left with some bullshit like, yep. And it's just terrible. And then you get Bono's little whiny voice over the top of it. It's like, you could have been such a great band if you just got over yourselves.
Yep. Yeah. Get a female lead singer singing for you too. Fixes all the problems for me. Getting rid of Bono fixes all the problems for me.
Yeah, he's pretty. That's where my problems start with U2. There's definitely a few more, but that's the major one.
Yeah,
that's certainly the major one. Yeah, and I got the answer on the album. We were close. It's 1993.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, April 20th, 1993. I wonder what kind of target audience they were going for.
Maybe.
But on a more serious note, I do want to go back to the fact I really do appreciate you guys stepping up and doing that episode. Hearing Tanner go through the list of kind of his musical connection with people gave me kind of a good idea. First of all, I had to address the Aerosmith thing. Like that's if you're gonna bring up Get a Grip at all, like how do you not come up with all three in that trilogy? Just egregious mistake by the Tan Man. Egregious. He'll have a chance eventually to address it and atone for his sins there eventually. But for now, we're an anti-Tanner pod until he gets a chance to redeem himself.
Oh, wow. And considering we're the gatekeepers, I like our odds, Geoff.
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to hold strong on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's whatever small picket line he might be able to put up. I don't think we're going to have any problem stepping over.
Nah, definitely not.
Yeah, I think we're going to be fine there. He went over Bruce Springsteen, Coheed and Cambria. I'm going to beat the Coheed and Cambria drum until we do some on this show. I'm just waiting for them to do a new album.
Mm-hmm.
That would be ideal. If I think we were talking about doing kind of that experts and newbies kind of idea where it's like you might take forget what band were you? Oh, Frank Zappa, I think was the one that you were talking about, like then telling me, getting in deep on Frank Zappa, telling me about it, and me doing the same with Coheed and Cambria and making that kind of a running series. I can't wait. That's just, I listened to some Coheed when I was doing lawn work the other day, and they just fuck, man.
You're just moving at 2 miles an hour. Man, your own jackhammer!
Yeah. Just drumming on the lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yeah, just incredible.
I will tell you,
Just
doing
incredible
burpees
stuff.
to that song jacks your shit up.
I
You
bet.
feel like
I
you're
can
gonna.
get you some other Coheed songs that'll get your blood pumping.
I'm pro Coheed. Like I just
Yeah.
haven't. I think I've listened to it all probably once through. I can't get through a friendship with you without getting that far at least. But
Yeah.
I've never really been to Coheed University, Coheed in Cambridge, if you will.
Yeah, we'll take you there. I'll get you a scholarship,
Put in a word with the
for the fall
bursar.
semester. Yeah. Yeah, I think the dean of students is going to like you.
All right, perfect. I'm in. Yeah, are they like they're still working on the oh god, it's not the Abraxas trilogy or whatever. What is it called?
Close. Vaxis.
Vaxis. Okay.
Vaxis. Yeah, and it's going to be a quintology. Is that what you call that? 5 albums?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you got trilogy. What's 4?
Quadrilogy. Yeah, quintilogy.
Quintology? Sure. A 5 album set, folks. That's what they're going for. They've released one, volume 1, The Unheavenly Creatures, has a song called The Dark Sentencer on it that you should certainly check out. If you want a song that'll get you fucking going, that one does it.
All right.
Yeah, that one does it. And they have the graphic novels that go along with everything. They've already released the storyline to go along with Vaxis Part 1. That's going to come out with every subsequent album. That one came out like 2 years ago now, so I think it's got to be time soon. Yeah, really, I think, you guys, I don't think got a chance to touch on smooth music the way that you wanted to, which is, I was kind of looking forward to that, but, who's to say? We could have Tanner back on next year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next fiscal quarter, I think we could talk about having him back on at some point.
Yeah, we could budget that. I mean, he is expensive. Being the voice of Norwich, it is expensive.
It's very true.
Yeah, that kind of blew our budget having him on the last time.
Yeah. And I noticed no reciprocating offer to be on the Reveille, Tanner. People will remember me from my time at Norwich University where everybody, when they went out for like maternity leave or paternity leave, would write that on the board. And when I quit my job, I wrote eternity leave and apparently pissed everyone off really bad.
That's so good. I never heard that before. That is so good.
Yeah, because I had the balls to be happy to leave that hellhole. So anyway.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. Well, did you have any follow-up thoughts on the previous episode?
No, not really. I mean, I had a great time. We could have gone for like 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So we just did as good a job as we could at capping it. And yeah, I think he and I'll do like, we'll work on a smooth playlist and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I'm looking forwd to it. I think that'll be a very good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you say? We hop right in.
Let's
get right into this Julien Baker.
Let's do it.
So this came out last month, I think. February 2021. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right. So the album is called Little Oblivions. And she, like I said, from Tennessee. So I think she spends probably a lot of time in Nashville, as just about every musical artist does these days. It's either New York, Nashville, or LA. I feel like is where albums get produced, and that's about it. So this one overall, I will say, did not match my excitement for this album. I think I was looking forward to this one, maybe not, I don't know if I could have expected it to be on the level of Phoebe Bridgers' Punisher, but, I was hoping that it might be. And I think a couple of songs reached for it, and just about got there, but I think overall it just didn't hit on all cylinders for me.
Well, and I think your instinct to want it to be on the level of Phoebe Bridgers is totally appropriate because they are part of the same crew. Mm-hmm. And Lucy Dacus is very good. And the big bad Julien, I enjoy her music. But I just think Punisher sets such a standard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, did you see the picture the other day of the billboard in NYC? It was like Spotify's Artist of the Year is Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah.
I mean, goddamn.
She's nominated for like 5 Grammys or something like that.
Yeah, like Best New Artists, among other things.
Yeah.
So, like, and she's earned it. She's great. She's introspective. She's interesting. She doesn't take any shit. Mm-hmm. So, and there's a lot of similarities between Lucy Dacus and Julien Baker and Phoebe Bridgers, the whole boy genius crew. So I think your instinct to want them all to be on the same level is right on the fucking money. But you're right. There's just something about this one didn't hit all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, and I think we're going to go over, we picked a handful of songs that we kind of had a consensus on that we felt were at least the most interesting. Whether we thought they were the best ones on there or not, it remains to be seen. We'll get right into that. But, I think for me, there were some great moments. And then the majority of it just didn't, and I guess I don't require artists to hit a bunch of different notes. I don't think an album should have 5 million different musical influences that you spend you spend equal amounts of time on, like paying tribute to different things and having different sounds and stuff like that. An album can be very, very good even if it only really hits one note. I think that's something that like just about every Against Me album did. It's just like they've got a certain sound, they stick to it, but for some reason it always remains exciting. I felt like I lost my excitement on several of these songs where it's just like, as I'm reading through the lyrics, I'm just like, okay, well, I've already listened through to this album once, so I know what the song is going to sound like. I've seen the lyrics now. I don't really need to like pay that much more attention to it because it just didn't grab me like I was hoping that it would, just like Punisher did. The first song that we're going to talk about is the second song on the album, Heatwave. And this one, I think only just because she is capable of delivering some pretty clever wordplay. I felt like there was several moments that it almost redeemed itself just strictly because of that. And she says something like, hold on, I think I have the wrong lyrics up. Okay, here we go. And it says, I had the shuddering thought this was going to make me late for work. And she's stuck in a traffic jam that was pretty gruesome. A car blew up. And so there very well might have been a family or something that just got totally incinerated. And her first thought is, this is going to make me late for work. And everybody's had that moment where you're stuck in traffic and it's just like you're trying to get somewhere and you're like, oh, what the fuck happened? Who's holding this up? And then you get there and it's like a totally horrendous car accident and you feel terrible for having the thought of like you're late for something when in the face of that going on. So I thought that was interesting. Musically was pretty good as well. But I think this part of the album was where I was still excited and like ready for another Punisher. And maybe maybe it's just not fair that I put those expectations on it. But I think a little bit more towards like what you were saying, where I think it's totally fair to do that if they've been involved in a band. Like obviously they're not going to sound exactly the same. Like when you and Tanner were talking about the Beatles, George Harrison's solo stuff sounded way different than Paul McCartney's, even though they were in the same band and made the same sound at one point. But this just didn't get me excited the way that like George Harrison album would. Even though, just the same as a Wings album would. It's just like they were kind of equal parts as good. They were just different things. This, I feel like, just wasn't quite as good. It just wasn't as exciting.
Well, not to be like a total dick, but if we're going to rank the most recent albums for all the members of Boy Genius, this comes in third for me.
Yeah.
I liked Lucy Dacus's, so maybe sometime we'll go for the hat trick and do that.
Yeah.
But I liked her most recent output. I mean, obviously we love Punisher. We gushed about Punisher. This is not bad. Like none of this is like she's an untalented musician or this is objectively bad. And I actually had the opposite reaction to you, where when it started, I was like, oh, fuck. And then like 2 or 3 songs in, I was like, okay, we're pulling up a little bit. Yeah. Because this is where I'll make my stand. When I told you before, I have thoughts.
Yeah.
I am, I think, officially pretty burnt out on white indie women. Not just us covering it, because when you really look back at it, I don't think we've done a disproportionate amount of sad white indie girls.
Yeah.
And why am I specifically singling out white? Because it tends to be the same set of issues. I mean, if you look at the personal lives of the members of Boy Genius, they're all on various levels of queer identifying, religious backgrounds coming over that, substance abuse, that kind of stuff. And I don't want to distill it all down to hashtag white girl problems, but I spend all day inside my white head, right?
Yeah.
And we're just kind of terribly uninteresting people at this point. So I would rather like hear other perspectives and hear what other people are doing within the genre. So not even necessarily to cover on this show, just for my own sanity and my own edification, to the people out there listening, if you know any women of color in indie music, send each and every one my way. I've been eating Burger King for like a year straight now. I gotta have some vegetables, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Spotify's not going to help you with that because they're just going to keep jamming these white ladies down our throat, I think.
Holy fuck. Yeah. And again, like not to make it a racial thing, but that component undeniably exists. I
mean, it's a certain perspective, that they have and that we probably share quite a bit of that perspective.
Yeah.
So I can see why, I can certainly see why you're a little burnt out on that, because I think I am too. I had the thought of, we got to shake it up a little bit and have at least a different genre of music for the next one after this, because it's just like there's only so many times I can listen to a full album where it just doesn't ever get cooking, really. You know what I mean? It doesn't ever, like, I love me some rock and roll music. I really, that's my bread and butter. Like I like country a lot. I like rap a lot. I even like some like EDM stuff, but rock and roll music to me, like that's where I really find myself, and that's where I really see myself. And I just never, it's just that was the problem with this one, is that maybe just because of everything that it's followed, maybe I just kind of held it up to a higher standard that it needed to really wow me to get real fair treatment here. But I did like enough of it where I was like, okay, I must have given it some fair listen, because I did enjoy some of this stuff. Like Heatwave, I thought was a good song.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's a few others that I thought were good songs on this, but it's just like overall, it just didn't quite get there for me.
Well, and like the irony is people are so thirsty for authenticity, and this is to take nothing away from Julien Baker's experiences, her struggles with addiction, her struggle with religion and her sexual identity and all of that stuff. I'm not saying it's not interesting and it's not worth listening to, but I'm not sure she found a different perspective other than a few songs which we picked to talk about.
Yeah.
Which are notable examples of her like really kind of putting it in an interesting way, and I think it was aided by reading her thoughts on Genius. And I rarely do that, but with her I was like, I kind of want like a little more context for this.
Yeah.
But there again, you can't make a Star Wars movie and then say, well, it'll make more sense if you read the comic book. You know what I mean? Like it's either all there in the medium you're having me experience, or it's not. So it sounds a lot like, I guess we're coming down hard on her. This wasn't unenjoyable, but it was just like something about it didn't hit.
Yeah. And I think, I almost want to say it's kind of an indictment on us
Probably
as Potters here, because, we have chosen, we have kind of stuck with certain genres more than others. And I think this is the genre that we've kind of pulled the most out of. And it's really, I think it's just like what we expose ourselves to with, music media, Spotify, things like that. So it's like what gets suggested to us, because there's albums coming out all the time. And, knowing how much we really like the Phoebe Bridgers album, when her bandmate comes out with a new album, it just makes sense. Like, why wouldn't we do that? But I think maybe we've just gotten a little bit stagnant with what we've chosen musically. And, I think I'm not going to give away the farm here on what we're doing next, but I think we're about to break out of that. I'm glad to, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't know that we already had a plan to kind of bounce out of this thing. But it's I'm looking forward to something that's just got a little bit more punch to it, I think.
Yes, and I agree. What's coming next time, I think, is going to be real interesting for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can move on to Relative Fiction, which was one that you had chosen that actually was pretty close to making it on my list of my top 3.
Yeah, so again, I tended to go with songs where I thought she was being introspective in a really interesting way. And Relative Fiction, at least my interpretation of it, like what I got out of it, is she wants to be a good person. She projects an image of kindness and professionalism and love, but how authentic is that really? And it's kind of her holding her own feet to the fire. And again, there's interesting lines. Like I really like, because if I didn't have a mean bone in my body, I'd find some other way to cause you pain. I won't bother telling you I'm sorry for something that I'm going to do again. And again, not to turn this into the fucking therapy hour, but I've been there where I'm a shithead to people and I'm just like, sorry, I'll definitely do this to you again in 3 months' time. Just wait. But at least you can recognize it and you don't create allies and enemies and disappear up your own ass. So I thought this was a good song in terms of her kind of putting herself out there like that and being honest about herself. Because a lot of these songs, this was my criticism of the Hayley Williams stuff, was I don't doubt that she went through something horrific, but she just milked that one theme. I'm in pain. I'm hurt. I can't make relationships last. And it just kept hammering us with that to the point where I'm like, we get it. We get it. Can you do a song about a fucking octopus's garden? Like, you got to shake it up a little bit here.
Yeah, I do think, though, I do like the perspective, though, and I'll never knock somebody for being honest about their role in something going wrong. You know what I mean? There's plenty of artists, and I'm not going to give any more free ads to a certain one that always seems to find everybody else the problem. It is refreshing hearing an artist admit to their wrongdoings. The other person might be just as shitty, not saying that they deservedly take all of the blame for things going wrong, but admitting some of the blame, I think is an admirable quality. And I think, she says the line, "Now I can finally be okay and not the way I thought I should." That speaks to the fact that she was always just kind of going into these same cycles, these same destructive cycles, whether it was the other person's problem or her problem. She always seemed to find somebody that was on her level, and I think alcohol was a big addiction of hers, along with probably some prescription pills from what I understand. But I know how messy you can get when under the influence of those things. That can be an especially messy situation. Because you're not in control of your emotions. Like, everything is just such surface level reactions to things that if you're both in that situation, you're both hammered or you're both hopped up on whatever it is that they were hopped up on, like, you're not going to have a good time with each other. Like, it's going to take one thing, and neither of you are capable, with your brains all addled like that, capable of getting any perspective on the situation. It's just this anger right here, right now, that you're going to react to. And, at least she takes full responsibility for her roles in things, while still admitting, like the lines that you read in the chorus, "I won't bother telling you I'm sorry for something I'm going to do again." And I think she is trying to make changes. I think that's something that's clear in the music. She's trying to get better and get out of these things, but understands that human condition, that no matter how much you try, a human is always going to make mistakes. And, she has a certain type of mistake that she seems to always make.
Yeah, and she beats herself up an awful lot on this album. And that's not a criticism, it's just an observation. But she's really hard on herself, to the point where in a song like this, it gets right up to the edge where I'm like, okay, this is a little uncomfortable to listen to. But again, kudos for calling yourself out for being a martyr, like being able to identify those behaviors. And using it as therapy, ostensibly. I don't know if that's how she sees it, but I would imagine it's very therapeutic to put that out there. And once you've kind of seen it written down in black and white, it's a little easier to confront. So for that reason, I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, and I think that's something that she kind of gets into as well, is the fact that the people around her, just kind of seem to... And we'll get into one of the songs that you had picked, Favor, kind of goes into it. We'll get into it deeper there, but it's like she feels like she has to beat herself up because other people aren't doing it for her.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the cathartic process for her with this album. And it does wear a little bit thin sometimes because you're like, damn girl, give yourself a break, you know? But I understand where she's trying to come from with that and what she's trying to accomplish with it.
Yeah, and I guess... just to make it clear too, because I don't want to speak for you, but for me, I feel like someone could go back and listen to this episode and be like, well, wait a minute. You say you don't care about authenticity, but then you have questions about how authentic this feels. You don't want her to beat herself up, but you want her to tell the truth. I feel like I may be saying slightly contradictory things. I don't really know, but... I think it's because this is a difficult album to talk about. Yeah. And you do kind of grasp at straws with it because I guess my gut reaction, and maybe this is fucking mean, but musically, it's pretty average. Like, the music is pretty average, and the lyrics are pretty much all you have. Because the first time I listened through it, I was like, if you told me this was like some kind of suite, you know what I mean? 45 minutes of, it's like Love Sexy Prince, where it just... keeps going.
It's all one song,
It's one song that changes and has little callbacks, and it's the Abbey Road medley. If you told me that, I believe you, because it just was not distinct enough, with a few exceptions. it kind of bled together. And again, she's got, this is mean, but she's got indie white girl marble mouth.
Yeah.
Where they all kind of do the like, I don't understand, I'm not really British, but I'm going to kind of like Quaalude voice. And nobody is worse than Lana Del Rey, who,
oh yeah,
again, I see that.
Set the standard, yeah.
March to the gallows in our future, too. And I'm like, oh, Christ.
God, yeah, it's going to be bad.
But, because I just hate her anyway. But, the indie girl sound that a lot of people are trying to cultivate, I'm just like, man, I personally, as a singer, cherish a very unique voice.
Oh yeah.
So the more that people try to like put themselves into a marketable box, the more it's just kind of an anathema to me. And whether or not this is what she can do and what she prefers to do, and whether or not this is an affectation, just not that into her sound. I feel like a dick, but can't say it's bad, but it's not for me. Yeah.
I mean, well, when you think about it, it's like the artists that you and I have really dug into, Prince, Meatloaf, Heart, those are bands with dynamic lead singers, like absolutely knock your socks off dynamic lead singers. Prince, you could say all you want about him, like not being as good a singer as the other two, but he knew exactly how to use every part of his musical ability and maxed it out in every way, shape, and form. I feel like with this indie girl revolution, that is just not the case. And the same thing, I think, happens with the 1975. We can't just dump it all on the ladies here. It's
for sure.
It's the whole genre. I think it's just kind of hitting one note right now. And it's I don't know what it's going to take for them to kind of break away from that, but we can't keep getting, while Punisher is great, for every Punisher, there's 15 of these albums, where it's just like, not the worst thing to listen to, but not the most exciting thing either. Like, there wasn't anything real groundbreaking that I heard on this album.
You're right. Punisher feels groundbreaking, and I'm not saying this is the case, but it feels like Little Oblivions is a response to Punisher. Wow, Punisher was so good, I gotta fucking bring it. And I'm sure if the big bad Julien could hear this, maybe that would hurt her feelings. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying, whereas Punisher felt like a revelation, when it really wasn't reinventing the fucking wheel. It's just so good. This just, I think, lingers in that shadow, and whether or not it's fair to assign it that problem, that's the case for me. So you're asking, like, what's it going to take to get people to break out? I'm telling you, it is women of color. It is POC. Like, we need a melanated revolution in the indie genre.
Yeah, that would make sense.
We just, I don't want to do like a weird reverse racism thing and be like, well, their lives are so shitty that their music can't help it be. That's not
it's
what
just,
I'm trying to say.
Different perspectives.
But it's
some fresh eyes are needed here.
It's an innately different perspective, and it's necessary to get a complete picture of the genre and of the world and of music. Like, fucking I love so much drawing on different cultures and just having this wonderful buffet of what everyone's up to. Yeah. And the indie genre, like the country genre, is just so dominated by white people. And this isn't me looking for points. This is just how I feel.
It is what it is. Yeah, it's a good
want
point.
something different.
They can't all be Mitski,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Your best American girl, I tell you what.
Oh, baby. Be the cowboy. Be that cowboy. Yeah, we could go on a little tangent with Mitski. Saw her once at the ACL Live taping.
You texted me. I think I was in New York when that happened, and I was just like, God damn it, I haven't seen anything cool here yet.
Yeah, it was, what a show that was. She basically just like had sex with a table on stage the whole time.
That combines three of my favorite things: Mitski, sex, and tables.
Yeah, it was a very good show, and I hadn't really listened to other than that song Nobody, but yeah, just really, really great show. It was really incredible. She's a powerhouse.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now back to our regular scheduled programming here. So the next song we were going to talk about is "Crying Wolf," and I think this is the one on the album where substance abuse is kind of really brought to the forefront. Where it's less about her personality, problems that she causes with other people, and the negative interactions that she has with folks causing problems for her. but it's more about the direct effect of substance abuse on those relationships, where it's less about the personality, more about the personality that happens when she's under the influence of whatever it happens to be, whatever the flavor of the week is at that certain point. And I think this song is probably, it's very honest. I think it's something that she's always talking about in this album, that she is trying hard to fix herself and get away from these demons, but she's very aware that she's not sure she has the strength to do it. And, in the chorus here, she says, "I'm not crying wolf. I'm out here looking for them." So instead of, she's saying, a lot of people, that have substance abuse will say that they're trying to get better. They're trying to make changes when they're really not. At least the thought process is there that they know they need to. But she's saying, "I'm not crying wolf. I'm not telling you that I'm about to go out here and fix all these problems. Like, I know I want to, but I'm out here looking for the wolves. I'm out here looking for these problems." And she says, "I swear off all the things that I thought that got me here. In the evening, I'll come back again." And so she's attributing the reasons for her substance abuse to the wrong things. So even if she fixes those problems, it's not going to fix anything about why she wants to get drunk and why she wants to do the pills. And I just thought it was a very interesting kind of take on substance abuse. And, instead of just one side or the other, like, there's the one side where they said, Godsmack says, "I'm okay with my whiskey hangover. Like, I'm not changing a thing. I'm just going to drink. I'm going to drink myself to death." And then you get the other side where they're like, "I'm never going to drink again. I found a new light. I found Jesus," all this stuff. She kind of hits right in the middle where you're not sure which way she's going to go. She's kind of hinting that she's probably not off totally, on the wagon yet, that she's going to fall off a few more times before it's all said and done.
Yeah. And like you said, there's that distinction. Like, a song that I love off a fucking album that I adore, Junkhead by Alice in Chains.
Oh, yeah.
That whole, "What's my drug of choice? Well, what have you got?"
Yeah.
Like, an incredibly clever song, incredibly fucking depressing in the context of what happened to Lane Staley. I mean,
Yeah.
Heroin ate him alive. But, I'm with you. I like that this was like straddling the line and, again, being very introspective about her behaviors. As long as I'm going to keep calling her the big bad Julianne and do these Trailer Park Boy references, I'll quote the late great Jim Leahy and say, "She's the epitome of refractory." She knows, and I guess recidivist would be more of an appropriate word than refractory, because recidivism implies she's just going to keep doing it. But refractory means she's stubborn, and she's stubborn about it.
Yeah.
You can't talk her out of this. You can try to talk to her from a perspective of like, "Well, I care about you, and this is for your well-being." And she's like, "You know what? I know it's a problem, but it's also really fun, and I meet a lot of weird cats, and I have good times even when I'm having bad times. So if you kindly leave me to my own devices, I'll figure this out in my own time. Thank you very much."
She is the liquor.
She is let the liquor do the thinking.
Yeah, that's what she's doing. Now we can move on to Favor, which I thought was a very good song, but this was one that you had specifically picked. So why don't you give me your thoughts?
I would say thematically, once again, is what drew me to it. It's this idea that you hurt someone close to you. That hurts you. You recognize what you've perpetrated on this person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's upsetting because you didn't want to do it. You were reacting emotionally. And now you feel like shit. And you're going through your own stuff. But you feel like it would be disingenuous to say any of that. Mm-hmm. So you fall down this rabbit hole of like, "Oh, fuck, I feel bad. But like, I wish this person would yell at me so that I could feel justified being an asshole, because as long as they're demure and they're like genuinely hurt and withdrawn by this, I've kind of lost the high ground, or at least equal footing." Mm-hmm. So again, it's another anthem for self-hatred done in a very interesting way. I mean, the post-chorus, "How long do I have until I've spent up everyone's goodwill?" Yeah. How many times can you do this to the people around you before they're like, "Fuck it, not worth it anymore"?
Yeah.
How come it? And then like I love the second verse. This painted a picture for me that I would say was Punisher worthy. "Sat on the hood out all night, trying to scrape together change. You pulled a moth out from the grill of your truck, saying, 'Oh, that's a shame.' How come it's so much easier with anything less than human, letting yourself be tender? Well, you couldn't make me do it." And I just like, it reminds me of the show Community in the pilot,
Mm-hmm.
where Jeff Winger, the main character, Joel McHale, is giving this speech. He names the pencil Terry or something like that. And then he snaps it, and everybody's like, whoa, Terry, no. And his point was like, once I've given the pencil human characteristics, you care about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't even extend our fellow humans that courtesy. So we love animals. We love inanimate objects. Like people that are like, oh, do whatever you want to humans, but if you hurt animals, special place in hell for you. It's like, I think there's a special place in hell for people that abuse people. If you want to subscribe to the whole ethos of hell in the Judeo-Christian concept.
Oh, yeah.
So again, I liked some of the philosophical implications of the song. Just, it hit for me. This one hit for me.
Yeah, and I thought this was a very good one because it's that idea of her friends trying to protect her from herself when really what is probably the healthiest thing for them to do is either cut her off and just don't even deal with her anymore, or force her to look in the mirror. Force her to look in the mirror and be like, this is the way you're acting right now. Are you really okay with this? Instead of just kind of letting her slide on this in order to not hurt her feelings, thinking that it might make it worse if she knew how bad she was acting. It's the kind of thing where it's like, how good of a friend is it really if they're not willing to call you out? And these people that are just letting you slide. And especially if you're a famous singer-songwriter, there's going to be hangers-on no matter what level you're at. If you're just at the local band level, there's going to be hangers-on for that. And she's certainly above that. She's national touring level. There's absolutely people there that are just not going to ever tell her no. And I think the problem is going to be is if she doesn't keep people around that are willing to tell her no. And it sounds like in this song, she recognizes that, but it's still that sense that she had in Crying Wolf, where she's like, I recognize that about myself, but am I going to change it? Not sure yet. I don't know. And it was definitely, I like when she does this on the album, when she does this kind of like straddling the line, I guess, so to speak, where it's like, do you know which way she's going to go? She's not absolute in either direction. And I think that's when she's at her most interesting.
I think you're right. I think her strength is in being open to both sides of the story, riding the line. I would agree. That's the most interesting thing about her. Because sometimes when people come in with like the absolute courage of their convictions and can make these declamatory statements like the only way to salvation is God, like you have no ability to look at the other side of that and go, I don't fucking believe that.
Yeah.
So salvation is kindness to your fellow human beings while we're here. We don't know what happens when we die. Not to like hammer Christians, but like there's something to be said for absolute certainty. There's something to be said for no certainty at all. And there's something to be said for somebody who's right in the middle. So it's kind of the greatest strength of this album overall is her ability to kind of sit on the fence without being non-committal. She's got a position, but she'll play devil's advocate with herself. So I respect that.
Yeah. And, Kurt Vonnegut had a quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it. I may have even said it on the show before. But he said, a lot of people praise the ability to have unquestioning faith. I consider her capacity for it absolutely vile. And I think that's a very accurate statement. I mean, it's certainly one of my favorite things that he's ever said, and I've read a lot of his stuff, but it speaks to that. How can you be really sure either way? You can be really sure how you feel about something, but you can never be totally positive about how you're going to act in a given situation if you've never experienced that before. And I think that's kind of what she gets at is she's like, well, I could tell you how I would act different in all these past ones, but this stuff coming up, really not sure. We're going to see how it goes. We're just going to roll the dice. And I like when she does that. I think that's when she's at her most interesting. And I think if that happened more on the album, I'd have a much more positive opinion over all of it.
Yeah, I would co-sign that. I agree.
Yeah. And then we both picked Song in E. That was one in common that we had. And it's another one of those ones, I think, kind of similar vein to Favor, where she said, the line that she repeats is, it's the mercy I can't take. She wants the abuse. She wants people to be angry at her. It's the mercy I can't take, because it's that sense that if they hate you and they don't want anything to do with you, then you don't have to worry about disappointing them anymore. You know, that's something that's off your conscience completely now, because if they're not worried about what you're doing, you don't really have to worry about anybody else's opinions at that point. And you can just go off and do whatever you want, whether it's drinking, smoking, whatever it is that was disappointing them in the first place. And I think that sort of mentality is a dangerous one, first of all, for someone with an addictive personality. The more they push people away, the worse things get for them generally, from my experience. And I think it's something that she appreciates that they do that, but it's frustrating all the same, because she does seem to have a very self-destructive streak in her, and she sounds like she doesn't mind indulging that. And if there's people around that try to prevent her from doing that, she's going to get mad at them, but it's really for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I agree with all of that, and I don't want to just like unnecessarily repeat that. I think that summed it up succinctly. So to add on to that about what makes the song so attractive, this for me was musically the most compelling one. Mm-hmm. Just playing a couple funky notes in there, broke it up, because it's not necessarily the most distinct thing on the album, other than that, just that little twist that takes it over the top. And those harmonies, perhaps you recognized the voices of the other members of Boy Genius, Phoebe Bridgers and Lucy Dacus joining up. And again, this was a song that gets you excited. You're like, if there was more of this on the album, this would take it up another notch for me, and I'd probably be a little more glowing about it. And like, I do also feel kind of in a weird place, not to give away inside baseball, I guess, and they always say never read the comments, but in the YouTube comments for our Hyam episode, this guy, and if he still listens to this, I don't want to discourage him from a discourse or from listening, but I took offense at what he said, where he was like, oh, I can't believe you guys are chalking up all criticism of Hyam to, or you think Hyam can't take criticism because they'll just chalk it all up to sexism. Yeah. Which is not what we said. And I don't want to throw you under the bus. What I said was, in a lot of their interviews, and this is true, you can go out and look at it, they have kind of a chip on their shoulder. And as a female artist, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But they kind of have a chip on their shoulder about, well, I think if people don't like this song, it's because they're a man and they don't understand, or they don't care about what women go through or something like that. And I'm like, you kind of got to give people a chance to be critical of your stuff, and you need to understand when they're being critical about it because they liked something that you brought to the table, but it just didn't hit all the way, as opposed to them just being a misogynist. Captain Marvel's not that great because she's a lady. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not every guy who has criticism of an album as being a neckbeard. It's because we took an interest in the album and what you're doing that we're excited enough to talk about it. Whether or not we loved it and thought it was the best thing we ever heard, you've given us a lot to talk about, which is kind of the point. So if you're looking for yes men and effusive praise, you came to the wrong podcast. Yeah. And I'm not saying we're not the fucking Noam Chomsky and Gore Vidal and shit, what was that other guy's name? It wasn't Barry Goldwater. Fuck. I don't know. Buckley, William F. Buckley. We're not the Buckley and Vidal.
That was going to get nowhere with me.
Yeah, no. we're not the fucking Buckley and Vidal of music review podcasts where it's like overly intellectualized. But we are smart guys who love music and have a lot to say. And it's not like we could do better or like try again, ladies. Yeah. So I guess it's a late in the game asterisk from me being like, none of this is me trying to mansplain her own material to her. It's just the things that I loved, and I wanted to see more of, and that's just me.
Yeah, and I think about half the album was stuff that I was like, yeah, this is objectively a really good song. Yeah. And the rest of it just didn't differentiate itself enough for me to really get that excited about. And at no point did I think it was bad. You know, I would never put this on the level of like the 1975 album that we did. Like never would put this down that low. But as far as like the ones that I've been really excited about, it's just not quite there. You know, it's just not up there with like the Casey Musgraves that we've talked about or the Margot Price that we've talked about. You know, it just wasn't quite to that level. I think she can get there. You know, I think she showed enough flashes on this one with the 5 songs that we picked that she could absolutely get there. And I think she just maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be a life change that happens or something like that gets her a little bit different perspective and maybe something else to write about. But overall, it was a good effort of an album, and I appreciated what she was bringing to the table for me. I don't know if I can give it a full stream it. I just don't know if I can go that far on this one.
I'm going to go ahead and say stream it purely because I think now at the end of this, I can really chalk mine up, and this isn't fair to her, but it's white girl burnout. I have bad white girl burnout, and I'm sorry. I know that's not necessarily fair, but I've just been inundated with such a steady diet of it for a while now. And when it was good to me, it was good to me. Yeah. And this isn't a break forever, but this came at the tail end of realizing, like, fuck, I gotta just shake shit up and broaden my horizons. So she's a victim of my malaise, not a lack of talent. Yeah. Because I mean, like, you read the however much stock you put in Pitchfork, you read the Pitchfork review. I mean, it got like 7.4. I don't know much stuff that gets. That's
a good score from Pitchfork.
That's a good one from Pitchfork.
That's a pretty solid one, yeah.
And the reviewer had plenty of nice things to say, and it wasn't like, this person's full of shit. Yeah. So there's clearly something that I don't get or can't appreciate because of my state of mind. So I'm gonna say stream it, make up your own mind, draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, and I think one thing that so you gave a stream it. I said a maybe. I'm not going to be upset at you if you do. I'm not going to be upset at you if you don't. But just understand that it's another indie album. If that's something that you're really into, if that's your favorite genre of music, you're probably going to love this album. If it's a genre that you haven't really gotten that into, this is probably not the one that's going to like really jumpstart you into loving this style of music, I guess is kind of how I'll define that a little more narrowly for the listeners.
Yeah, and I will repeat my call again. If you're out there and you can hear the sound of my voice, please recommend to me specifically, because I just kind of, I guess it would be inappropriate to say I have a boner for women. Musically, I'm like really interested in what women are doing in the indie genre, because again, it's the same thing, the 1975, just the skinny jeans and the mop tops, and I'm like, can we just have a bunch of bald fat guys singing about how they can't get laid? Like an indie incel project. Whether or not you agree with their politics, it would at least be interesting. But I won't limit it to women, but I will say preference given to women of color, but people of color working within the indie genre. Please just throw me whatever you've got. Don't be afraid. I know we sound like snobs sometimes, but just throw everything you got at me.
Yeah, that would be appreciated, because I think it's not an indictment on the genre so much. I think it is just we're kind of indicting ourselves here with just maybe hitting it a little too hard and experiencing some burnout with it. And I think that's, it's a fair thing that you experience burnout with things. I think it's not fair that we've done that to this album necessarily, but just it is what it is. The album came out when it came out. If it came out 4 months ago, we probably would have had a different thing to say about it.
Yeah, and I'm not usually that affected by mood from an academic or critical standpoint. Like maybe I'm not in the pocket when I listen to something, but even like the Foos, which I hated that album. Yeah. But listening to it multiple times in different settings and different state of minds, you get something different, which I did with this album, and I still just couldn't justify it. And again, that's not the big bad Julien's fault. It's it's on me.
Yeah. Well, one thing I am excited about is the album that we're going to be doing for next week's episode. Not going to give it away, but also I texted you that Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak are doing an album together.
Oh yeah, I never responded to that when you texted me.
Yeah, you sure didn't. You sure didn't. But that's okay. We'll discuss it off pod. But that album I am excited about, because one thing I am is a Bruno Mars fan. That little man can entertain with the best of them.
He sure can. I mean, he's a fucking showman.
Yeah, that's the word to describe him. Now, I won't say that he's on the level of like a Prince or a Bruce Springsteen or somebody that's like been a very important cultural part of music of the last 40 years. But I will say people should go check out Bruno Mars's tribute to Prince, because I thought that was very good.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one. And also his Super Bowl halftime show was pretty solid. And it just in general, he's just a great entertainer. You know, I think he sings really well. Uptown Funk is a jam. Will always be a jam to this day. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of song that you'd be like, oh, I'm so sick of this one. I can't believe it. Every time I've heard him, like, this song just fucks. It's just a great song.
And I normally am not like that big of a Mark Ronson guy either.
Yeah.
But that song was lightning in a bottle. And I also didn't love The World Better Prepare for Another Millionaire, the Bruno Mars song. And
I Want to Be a Billionaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Lazy song, I did not like either of those songs.
Yeah, those weren't great. But Grenade?
Grenade was where it started to turn around for me. I was like, this is a
song.
little cheesy, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And it just
24 Karat Magic?
Yeah. I love the song Finesse.
Oh, yeah.
Finesse is a great 90s throwback.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. With our girl Cardi.
Yeah.
Great. She's got an album coming out soon too. So we've got some things coming down the pipe, I think, that are going to break us out of this little indie girl funk here, I think.
Yeah, until Lana Del Rey comes down the pipe and clogs it up.
You know, what if we do that one as a video reaction?
Like we're watching it in real time?
Yeah, people can listen to that album and get our reaction. Like, just put that on. Like, put the album on and put our video on and get our real reaction, like little Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that would possibly work better if we were in the same place, but it's not impossible being remote. I just worry about the delay if we're both trying to listen to it at the same time. But that's a problem for another day.
Yeah, we could try to figure that out, because I feel like our visceral, immediate reactions to that are going to be better than anything we could put on the pod.
Yeah. And it's coming. It comes out this month. End of the month, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, boy.
Gird your loins.
Oh, boy.
Here comes Lana.
God. That I'm not really I've never been a big fan of hers at all. I don't think I hold the same kind of hatred that you do, but I just have a feeling, because I haven't really tried to listen to her music, really. She does the cover of the Sublime song, Doing Time, which is a decent cover, but it was someone else's song. Like, it's hard to fuck up a cover, really. But I am looking forward to how much I'm probably going to not like that album that she comes out with.
Hey, if it comes out and it's fantastic and I have to backtrack on all this, you hear it here, folks. I'll eat an entire pizza. I don't care how delicious it is or how hot and gooey. I'll eat the whole thing to say I'm sorry.
I'll throw myself on that altar, too. I'll eat a whole goddamn pizza myself.
All right. I think we're eating steamed vegetables, but, stranger things have happened, I guess.
So, yeah, look forward to all those coming up. Our YouTube, I don't know if you noticed, my friend, but your last video popped off a little bit.
Which one? The last singles?
The last singles video.
Did it? I haven't looked in a couple days.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
The people have spoken. They love jellyfish.
Yeah. And the other videos of the recordings of the podcast put onto YouTube form, those have been doing pretty well as well. I think that's something, it's a medium that I think people are digging.
Yeah, we got a nice little community there, and I think the next logical step is we just got to webcam it up. We should do some video episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would, giving the people what they want, I think is what we call that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's fan service, as they say in the WandaVision community.
So make sure you go on that YouTube, subscribe so you get all our videos when they come out. By the time you listen to this, we will have had another singles video by yours truly come out. And then after that, we'll have another one by Alex coming out. So every Thursday, those singles videos come out. We're going to be releasing other ones sporadically, but that's why you got to subscribe, so that you get the notifications when those are out, so you can be the first to watch them. It's like collecting baseball cards or art. The first one to get them, those are always the most valuable. So if you're view number 1, let us know. We got a special little prize for you.
Yeah, first person in the comments. You know how they always like get to a video and it's like, first.
Yeah.
If we can verify that's you, you just won the prize.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that prize is going to be yet, but it will be worth it.
Oh, definitely. It's probably going to be me drawing you as a monster or something, but that's fine. That's valuable.
Yeah. Just it'll be Alex drawing you as Prince or your artist of choice.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're into like Tom Petty, I'll draw you as Tom Petty. That'll be good.
Gaunt, blonde, showboy.
Ugliest motherfucker on the planet. God rest his soul, but Jesus Christ.
Oh, voice of the angels, though.
That was my name on Twitter for a while, was Tom Petty Ugly.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair. It's one of the when there's truth in comedy, it's always a little funnier, and that there's a little truth in that comedy, my friend.
It's a reference made with love, and it was punching up, so I'm not responsible.
Well, is it up or down now?
Oh my God, Geoff! Too soon. Too soon.
Sorry. So you can find us on Twitter out on that line. Thankfully, my personal account is unbanned. Don't tweet about putting people under the guillotine for tweeting spoilers, folks. They'll cut you right out. Twitter doesn't even give a fuck. They'll cut you right out. Find us on Instagram at Out on That Line. Starting to pick up quite a few followers on that as well. You'll also see the IGTV versions of our YouTube videos. So if you prefer getting that content from Instagram, we got you there too. Find us on Facebook at Out on That Line Podcast. And email us. Please email us. All we get is spam in there right now. So if you got some album suggestions, some criticisms of the pod, whether we read them or not, that's totally up to us. But please send them outonthatline@gmail.com. And Alex, did you have anything else this week that you wanted to go over?
No, I'm going to shut my damn yap and we can be done.
Okay, excellent. Until next time.